Well, I failed at my 2023 goals, that is. But here's the thing, I love failure. It's great. So many lessons to be learned. And so in this video, I want to talk about what my goals were, why I failed at them, and what I'm going to do this year to not only learn from those mistakes and so-called failures and push forward to the next thing. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, and in this last year I left my job as an engineer to pursue entrepreneurship full-time, and this channel is me documenting my journey so that other people can hopefully be inspired and learn from it. Today I want to talk about my goals for last year and why I failed at them, breaking them down bit by bit so that maybe somebody else can learn a little bit about how I goal set and how those things have pushed me forward despite the failure within those goals. So let's talk about my three main goals. The first one for last year was to buy 10 single family houses. This was a very lofty goal for me, at least in my opinion. Last year I really kind of started in real estate and started learning what real estate was. Joined my mentorship that you guys have heard about probably, sub 2 with Pace Morby, and learned a lot about how to scale quicker, how to buy more houses. And so I decided, hey, instead of sticking with my original goal, which was to buy one house a year, I want to make that goal to buy 10 houses in my first year. And that to me was a very lofty goal, and that's kind of what I would call like one of my stretch goals, right? Something that's going to push me, because in order to accomplish that goal of buying 10 houses, I'm going to have to really put in the time and the effort to learn how to do that, at least if I want to do it well, right? Because in theory, especially with what I know now, being able to buy houses with $0 down and other people's money, I could go buy 10 houses, but can I go buy 10 houses the correct way and actually make money, not put myself and other people in bad positions? So obviously, that was what I was trying to accomplish. So buying 10 houses, what does that look like? For me, that meant meeting other people that are buying 10, 20, 30, 40, way more houses, looking at their processes, looking at what they're doing, how they're raising money, how they're working with other people, what's working, what's not. Soak all of that in and use that to figure out what my strategy might be. So that's what I did. I started going to, in our mentorship, we have a lot of Zooms where we can learn from other people on what they're doing, what's working, what's not. Went to a lot of meetups and talked to people there, and really just tried to involve myself with people that were doing what I wanted to do, which was buy 10 houses. And in the process, I can confidently say that I did learn how to buy houses. I learned what it looks like to go through that transaction, how to be able to buy creative deals. I learned how to raise money. I met other people that were doing it, all that good stuff. So I do believe that I put myself in a position to be able to buy 10 houses. But I didn't buy them. Why did I not buy them? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and I want to break it down here, and you'll kind of hear more as I talk about some of my other goals. But in general, what happened was I learned so much this year about focus. Being able to focus on the most important thing, the most important goal, whatever my main current priority was. And at the beginning of the year, I had no idea what that was. So I just set some lofty goals, figured it would push me to the next step. I can say with confidence it did, so it worked. But I didn't know exactly what it would look like for my most important goal throughout the year. And what I determined was at the beginning of the year, and you'll hear this kind of with my next goal too, but at the beginning of the year, I was working my full-time job. I was making okay money, fine money for somebody that doesn't really have many expenses. And so my focus was on trying to do more wealth building, accumulating assets, learning, all of that stuff, and not necessarily on making quick cash, so to speak, or now money, as people call it. Because I had that. I had a steady income. I didn't really need to make money now. I wanted to set myself up for success in the future. However, that changed. Things changed where I realized that I didn't want to be doing my job anymore. I did want to be able to go out and do my own thing. And so all of a sudden I'm flipping that script, right? I'm going from, hey, I don't need money now at all, to, hey, I got to figure out a way to make some money, right? And so what happened was, in buying 10 houses, it's a very long game. You can absolutely make cash flow from buying houses, but generally speaking, that's kind of just going to go back into expenses and other things like that. So not necessarily going to be the thing that's going to make you significant money right now, right? And so I realized that, but I also realized a lot of other things. And one of the big ones was that I needed to focus on what the most important thing was for me. So although I could have done what I ended up doing that I'll talk more about, and also bought houses, I didn't want to do that because that's two pretty different things. It's two separate things that take up a lot of time, a lot of learning. And so I don't know how to operate when I'm trying to do both of those things and do them at the level that I expect myself to do, the standard that I hold myself to. So What happened instead was that I got into wholesaling, which I actually very much was against at the beginning of the year. I didn't want to wholesale because in my head I was like, you're just making quick cash. You're not actually gaining the assets. You're not gaining the wealth. I don't really like it. I've seen other people that do it that are kind of shady, whatever. So I didn't want to wholesale. But the pivot that I made was everything I just talked about. It was that I needed now money. I also realized that buying houses was kind of maybe one step above where I felt like I was at in my journey because it wasn't necessarily my priority anymore. I focused on wholesaling because I knew that in doing that, I could make quick cash, so to speak. It definitely wasn't quick, but I could make good money doing that. I could also have the opportunity to build a team, get a partner, start my own business, and those things all of a sudden excited me way more than just going out and buying some houses for stuff down the road. Because the reality is, I have a little bit of flexibility when it comes to making mistakes and kind of going a little bit bigger right now because I'm younger and I have a little bit more of a runway. So that's what I did. We actually ended up starting a business, as I've talked about probably a little bit, and we'll talk about more. We started a business where we were wholesaling creative deals, where we find people that are basically have no equity in their mortgages. We take those mortgages over subject to, and then we sell that contract, that deal, to an investor that is looking to buy properties because that was no longer me. And so I started that company with my partner. We brought on employees, and we actually just totaled it all up. We did about $162,000 gross in 4 months, so about $40,000 per month in revenue for our business, which was awesome. Very cool, especially being that we were pretty new to the business, didn't exactly know what we were doing. Super excited about that. And in doing that, we ended up wholesaling in those 4 months, and really for the whole year, but it didn't start till the end of the year for us. But in those 4 months, we wholesaled about 15 deals, or closed 15 deals. And so on the one end, this is why I like reflecting, because I looked back on it and I said, okay, well, my goal was to buy 10 houses, and I failed in a sense. But I replaced that by wholesaling 15 houses. So when you look at it, I could have bought those 15 houses. I decided to sell them and make money now instead and kind of keep things rolling with my other business. But we did do 15 wholesale transactions. So take it or leave it. I didn't buy 10 houses. I definitely did fail at that goal in a sense, but I learned a lot from it. And obviously, like I said, was able to start a wholesale business that did really well. Also taught us a lot of lessons about wholesaling, but also hiring, firing, running a business, all that cool stuff. So that's my first goal. That's kind of how that turned out. So my next goal feels maybe a little bit bigger, but really it's just different. That's all it is. It's a different goal, and that was to buy 300 multifamily units, which sounds huge. It still sounds like a lot to me, to be honest. But at the time when I was making my goals last year, I was very involved in multifamily. I had started kind of a little multifamily team locally here, mainly so that we could just kind of learn the ins and outs, go to a lot of different workshops and retreats and Zooms and all of that stuff to learn more about multifamily. And the reason why I set that goal at 300 units was one, because again, it was a stretch goal. It was something that, I thought was pretty up there, but still attainable. But also because in multifamily, you can buy 150 units, you can buy 300 units. In fact, we actually had an offer in on 573 units, I think. So it was a very attainable goal. Like, it was something that we could have done. We had the pieces in place, but it's also a very long process. And buying multifamily, again, same thing as what I was talking about before. It's buying an asset that's could be absolutely incredible, right? It can make you a lot of money in the long run, especially, the bigger things get, the larger your margins get. A 1% margin on a 572 units is going to make you a lot of money in the end game. But it just didn't fit in with what I was doing, because at the beginning of the year, again, and that specifically at the beginning of the year when I set my goals, I was deep into multifamily. We had the multifamily team. I was saying, hey, I don't need money now. And that changed. And honestly, pretty soon after that mindset shift changed, I kind of backed off of the multifamily stuff, because for me, it was me just recognizing and being able to be fluid enough to say, hey, I'm not just going to force myself to chase after this goal that I've set for myself when things have changed, when things are not the same as they were, because my motivation is going to be down. I'm going to get frustrated, and it's just not going to accomplish what I want to accomplish. So the multifamily was great because we learned how to underwrite multifamily deals. We made multiple offers on multifamily deals, formed a ton of relationships, and I will be getting into multifamily. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I'll be doing large multifamily at some point, maybe this year, maybe in a couple of years, who knows? And I already have the knowledge to kind of have that head start, because I spent a couple of months full steam ahead. getting after it. And so I'm excited about that because that opportunity will present itself. And I absolutely didn't waste that time. Like I'm not upset about using that time at all. I think that it was great. I think I learned a whole bunch. But at the end, 300 units was the goal. 0 units were purchased. So a failure in a sense, right? I did fail on the goal, learned a lot in the process. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to have gotten to even do that. But yes, didn't pass on that goal either. So you can see when I say I failed, it's because, you know, I had 3 main goals and I've gone over 2 so far, and both of them I had 0 purchases. So it doesn't exactly sound like I was crushing it this year, but maybe this last goal will help with that a little bit at least. So my last goal that I have written up on my board right there that I was looking at every day was to be able to quit my job as an engineer by the end of the year. Now, if you heard me in this intro, you probably already know that I was able to accomplish that, but what's really cool is that I thought it was a stretch goal. Remember, I'm talking stretch goals here. My stretch goal was to quit my job at the end of the year. And the reason I thought that was a stretch is because if you talk to most people, that would sound like a stretch. You know, give myself a year to be able to replace my income as an engineer with income from being an entrepreneur, being in real estate. Pretty lofty, in my opinion, but I knew that I was in a group of people, I was surrounded by people that were doing exactly that were giving me the tools and the opportunities to do that for myself. And so I knew that it was possible. I didn't exactly know how I was going to do it. And when I talk about how I did it, it wasn't anything that I expected at all. But I knew it was possible. I knew that if I continued pushing forward, things were going to click into place and I was going to be able to potentially make that a reality by the end of the year. So that was my stretch goal. Now, my actual date that I quit my engineering job was July 21st. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So about 5 months early from my goal, which is awesome. So failed at the other 2 goals, but technically double timed this goal. So check mark there. So quit my job July 21st, went full time into real estate. I still hadn't made $1 on real estate, except for what I'm going to talk about right now, which is gator lending earnest money. That was how I quit my job. I posted videos about it. I have a video that I made right when I started this channel about how I quit my job. It was through lending earnest money to other people, making outsized returns. It was awesome. And I had just a little tidbit of that, and it was enough for me to be like, hey, I'm gonna do this and go mess up other stuff, and I'm quitting my job. And so I did. And so I was able to accomplish that goal in you know, almost half the time from what I was expecting. And that's a big deal. I mean, for me, that's a big deal. Obviously, now I have ridiculously incredible freedom to travel, spend time however I need / want on any particular day. And that's a huge blessing. I mean, I can't take that for granted, right? But what I want to talk about too with being able to quit my job was that the reason I was able to do that was because of the position I had put myself in prior. And that, I think, is a really big thing that gets missed. Like, if you watch my video about how I quit my job and everybody says, you know, I want to quit my job, my question to you would be, do you really want to quit your job? Because I think there's a lot of people that don't want to and just think they want to until they get into this stuff, and then they end up going back or being frustrated or whatever. But I haven't done that, so I can't talk on that. What I can say is the reason I was able to quit my job was because my wife and I had put ourselves in a position where we were very lean on our expenses. We had very little expenses. And, you know, I'm going to make another video about how we essentially house hack our house, right? We have an Airbnb connected to our house that provides the income to pay our mortgage. So we were very lean there. And besides that, we didn't have any other debt or payments, right? We own our houses, or we have our house payment that's getting paid by the Airbnb. We own our cars in cash, all that fun stuff. And so at the end of the day, besides, you know, just kind of our basic living expenses, things were very slim. And so I was able to do that because I kept things so slim. And it's super depressing for me, honestly, when everybody gets out of college. I know, you know, if you're watching this, you probably aren't doing this, but there's plenty of people that are getting out of college and they're like, bought my big boy car, right? Got my big boy job. And guess what? Those people are never really going to be able to take advantage of the things that I did in this past year, because from the get-go, they put themselves in a position following what other people have told them they should do or what they felt like was right, put themselves in a position with debt and with expenses to where they're never going to be able to backtrack and go do whatever they want. Same reason that we were able to go live in a van for over a year, right? Same reason, because we didn't have expenses. So that's one of the biggest reasons I was able to quit my job, the reason I was able to succeed on that goal. But yes, I did quit my job in half the time. I'm doing this full time now, shooting videos, trying to document what I'm up to. And that's just a quick overview of my goals for this last year and how they turned out. Now, this next year I have new goals, and they're lofty too, and they're different. And I know for a fact, based off of the goals from last year and the year before that I'm gonna fail on these ones, for sure. But I'm super excited about it because I know that as I'm chasing after these goals, new opportunities are going to present themselves. Probably better opportunities are going to present themselves that I would have never expected. And I'm going to be able to take advantage of those things, learn from those things. And although I may fail on some goals, I'm going to accomplish new things that I never would have expected. And I want to end this video by saying, looking back on last year, not only was I able to fail on a couple goals, accomplish quitting my job, but I was also able to meet some of my closest friends. I was able to make more money than I ever have in a business where I have the flexibility to do whatever I can, whatever I need to. And so I was able to utilize those things to build bigger goals for this next year, to be able to dream bigger, be more flexible, have more fun doing it, and be able to just spend time the way that I feel is best while continuing to push myself to be better, to do better, and to give it everything I've got. So super excited for this next year. I think, I'll be posting more videos about what I'm up to this year, what my goals are. All I'll say right now is I've got big goals, very interesting goals, things that I certainly wouldn't have been able to do had I not put myself in this position last year. And so I'm incredibly grateful for that. I want to hear how you guys did on your goals and maybe what some of your goals are for this next year so that I can see how I might be able to get involved, be able to help you guys get to those next levels, to those next goals. Other than that, good luck in 2024. Look at 2023, take some time to reflect on what you did in this last year, how you were able to learn and grow from those things. And until next time.